Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To keep this podcast free, we're partnering with Stoke Seeds. Pre-plan your indoor seed starting program today with the help of Stoke's 2018 Gardening Guide and their online articles. Whether you're adding texture through foliage, choosing a new variety for a splash of color, developing an existing garden, or starting from scratch, Stoke Seeds has some great catalog and online resources to help you through the process. More than just a listing of vegetable and flower seeds, the Stoke Seeds website is a complete resource center with valuable information on seed starting, planting, and harvesting, plus all the gardening accessories you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Get growing with Stokes. Now, today's question.
Fred, I remember a few years ago, maybe about, might be a decade ago now, we got early warmth. I want to say it was, mid-March. We got some warmth.
Yep.
The plants started to show signs of life, and then we got a bad cold snap. And the trees and everything were adversely affected for the entire season as a direct result. When are we safe as far as cold snaps?
Okay. Well, it is generally accepted here in Central Ohio, and for that matter, most of Ohio, in and around May 15. Now, I remember way back several decades ago that there was a freeze, and I don't mean a frost, a freeze on June 6th, I think it was.
Wow.
I was in the nursery at that time, and there was 3, 4, 5 inches of brand new growth, and the light green against the dark green, and looking absolutely magnificent. And then all of a sudden, you see this absolutely gray pallor over several acres of these plants, and you know that it's not going to be good. And then by late afternoon that day, they had thawed, and by the next morning, they were hanging dead black. Well, now, that's disastrous. We knew that because the plants were healthy, they would come along. But when you are growing things for a period of time in tax-applied land and all the costs that go along with it, and you see that you have to go in and trim several thousand plants again, and you've lost one whole year of growth, and et cetera, it's not a happy day.
No.
So let's go back to the 15th and suggest that is still the date that I recommend. However, by the 1st, and with what we'll call the warming that seems to be going on, I think May 1 is becoming safer, especially if you keep some old newspapers on hand. Now, this might sound strange, but that and the garden hose, or both, papers, two sheets thick, won't stop a freeze very long. But in that the freezes usually come between 3 in the morning and 7, you can, the night before, you can go out and lay a couple thicknesses of newspaper over the top of some of the tender things, and it will stop them from freezing as far down into the plant, or stop them for that matter at all. Now, my neighbors long since known I'm crazy, but I set up my sprinkler. It's the old oscillating hose drag type thing in a couple places where I have some tender things. And I get up at 4, which is because the alarm went off, not because it's natural. And I go out and just simply turn the sprinklers on. Well, now, water coming out of the house through the hose is going to be running about 50 degrees, 48 degrees. It goes up into the air and drops down to maybe a little less than 40 degrees. Then all of a sudden it starts to freeze onto the plants. No big deal, because when water freezes at 32, it's freezing on the outside of the plant. Therefore, it is essentially allowing for some comfort from temperature drops inside the ice.
Gotcha.
Now, the first time my neighbors saw this, I got several phone calls.
Yeah.
Just like, what in the world? Well, it boils down to you're stopping the temperature drop at 32. Now, if this was to go on down to 20 degrees, then the cold would start to penetrate the plant. So this is a matter of avoiding what I call simple frost damage, down to probably 30 degrees And some things don't actually freeze, especially if they're out that time of year and on the hardy side. They don't freeze until it's below 30 degrees. But sprinklers and newspapers, if you care, you can use, or you can just simply buy the plants you want May 1, keep them in the flat on the edge of the driveway in the sunshine, run them in the garage if it's going to be nasty, and just don't take the chance.
Thanks again for listening to the podcast. Remember, pre-plan your indoor seed starting program with the help of Stokes Gardening Guide and their online resources. And request your free catalog while you're online. For the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to stokeseeds.com. Cultivating successful growers for generations.